G'day. How you doing? Good. Microphone's good. Well, g'day is Australian for good day. Very profound word, and like all countries and cultures, we have our unique greeting. I spent 4 years living in New Zealand before moving to America, and I found that the Maori language, the indigenous language of New Zealand, offers some even better greetings, and I want to share some of them with you as I begin this morning. One of them, and the most common one, is kia ora, which means may all be well with you. There's another one that is kia kaha, which it is what it sounds like, may you be strong. And then my favorite one of all is a word, aroha nui, which means no matter how alone you feel, no matter how much of a struggle your life feels at the moment, you are not alone. It's a way of giving someone love and strength and solidarity. And I hope that when you're here this morning, that one of the things you leave here with is a feeling that you are not alone. No matter what you bring to this place, no matter what's going on in your life, that you will know that sitting alongside you and sitting in front of you and standing out in front of you with a funky Aussie accent are people who are related to you, who share the common human journey with you. Now, one of the ways we learn about our humanity is by being embarrassed. And I was embarrassed when I first arrived in New Zealand. I want to share this story with you. I don't know exactly why. I was sitting there and I was thinking, I have to share the story about when I first arrived in New Zealand and I was due to meet one of the top Maori dancers, hip-hop dancers in New Zealand. And I was due to meet him. He just happens to be a gay man, which is only important, as you'll see later in the story. So as I arrive at his home, he opens the door and I reach out my hand to shake his hand. And he holds his arms out. I think, well, that's okay, we're going to hug, I'm okay with that. So I reach my arms out and we move together towards a common embrace. I realize as he's coming towards me that he is moving straight for me with his face straight towards mine. And I think to myself, all right, friendly. I am not going to be the stodgy one that pulls away. So clearly we're going to give each other a peck on the cheek. I can do that. He continues to come in straight for me. Lips heading straight for my lips. And I'm thinking to myself, he is really friendly. But I'm still not going to be the one to turn. So I pucker up and kiss him straight on the lips. After this brief kiss, and I'm still reeling a little bit, he starts to smile. He says, "You've never heard of a hongi, have you?" And then he described to me the practice in Maori culture that when you greet someone, you rub noses with them. But he said, "I'm not sorry that you didn't know that." Now, it was a great moment that we shared, and one of the reasons it was a beautiful moment was because in the embarrassment, we both got to laugh. It just took all the pressure out of the situation, and in that moment, we were just two men greeting in our humanity. Now, I later discovered a bit more about this practice of the hongi. It's a word that means breath. And so two people will rub noses together as a symbol of exchanging the breath of life with each other. It's a beautiful practice. And after our meditation this morning, when we're so focused on our breath, going deep down to that stillness within us. I want to offer you, if I could go around and give a hongi to every person in this room, everyone who would accept it, I would. But let me offer you a collective hongi. Nose to nose. Breath of life to breath of life. From deep within me. From that place of stillness and oneness where I am at ease with myself, I greet that same place in you. In that place, we are one. In that place, there's no men and women. There's no gay and straight. There's no black and white. There's no American, Australian, or Kiwi. There's no Michigan and Missouri. There's no Unity Church and any other churches. We are all simply one, connected intimately at a level of breath or spirit. Now, why do you belong to a church, any church? One of the reasons, surely, is that so when you come to this place, you know that you are not alone. May you know that this morning. When I arrived a week ago, I was in the cab. And the cab driver was a little lost, and I couldn't help him. And as we drove around some of the streets nearby here, finally I saw the Unity Tower. I saw the tower and I said, "Go there. That's the way there." And so we followed our way to the tower, this towering beacon of unity. And I arrived in my hotel room, and not 10 minutes had passed when there was a knock at the door. And it was Reverend Carla, who was the person that first introduced me to Unity several years ago. When I opened the door and saw Carla, I knew that I was back in my second home, my home away from home. I was back with kindred spirits, and that's how I feel this morning. So thank you for welcoming me here again. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being a beacon of hope in this part of the world. And let me bring you a message this morning. The message I want to bring you is you are not alone. There are communities like yours around the world. Our community in Michigan is like yours. Ours is a kindred community to your community. And let me give this message to the unity movement generally. You are not alone. You are part of something larger even than unity. So when you come and sit here from one Sunday to the next, may you never forget that your participation here is significant, more significant than you could ever imagine. Your participation here on a Sunday morning makes you a part of something which is vast, enormous, connected, global, beyond global, cosmic. It's beyond human. It connects all species. It's the very heart of life. May you never forget that. Now, there's a great story about two Irishmen who were sitting in a bar, and the bartender overhears their conversation. The first one says, "And where are you from?" He says, "I'm from Ireland." And the first guy says, "That's amazing, I'm from Ireland as well." "Where in Ireland?" He says, "I'm from Dublin." "That's amazing, I'm from Dublin as well." "Where did you graduate school?" He said, "St. Mary's." "I don't believe it, I graduated St. Mary's as well." "What year?" 1972. "I can't believe it. I graduated St. Mary's 1972 in Dublin." And they both stand up and they're slapping each other on the back and they're saying, "How amazing is this?" And just at that moment, someone else walks into the bar, says to the barman, "Now what's going on here?" He says, "Oh, it's nothing. It's just the O'Malley twins. They're drunk again." Only the Irish. Now, there's a little bit of the O'Malley twins in all of us. We so easily forget our connections. We forget our connections, and one of the reasons that we belong to spiritual community like this is to be reminded that we are connected all the way across, and all the way back, and all the way in, and all the way out, all the way back to the Higgs boson, and all the way out to the farthest galaxies, all the way back to the origins of life, all the way forward to future generations of life. We are connected, and we so easily forget it. Now, the tragedy of the bar story is that alcohol, the abuse of alcohol, is one of the ways that we self-medicate our loneliness, which stops us from truly facing that desire for connection and seeking it. We have many ways, many subtle ways of self-medicating. Alcohol is only one of them. We put up walls of defensiveness. We have the need to be right. We protect our positions. We have so many subtle ways of keeping ourselves separate. Why do we do that? The great joy of being alive is to know our connections. Now, last night I was relaxing. It's been a heavy week, as some of you know. And I was relaxing last night. I put the television on and I caught a clip of the Will Smith movie, I Am Legend. How many know that movie? I Am Legend. Now, this is a post-apocalyptic tale where everyone, apart from Will Smith, has been wiped off the face of the earth. And he's trapped there in New York City, trapped there as the only surviving human with his dog and lots of scary shadow creatures who only come out in the light or the dark. I can't remember which way that goes. So Will Smith has to draw on all his expertise, all the things he learned from The Pursuit of Happiness and all those other great life experiences. Hancock was another one. So he does the very smart thing. He finds a radio transmission box and he transmits the following message every day. He says, "My name is Robert Neville. I am a survivor living in New York City. I am broadcasting on all AM frequencies. I will be at the South Street Seaport every day at midday when the sun is highest in the sky. If you are out there, if anyone is out there, I can provide food, I can provide shelter, I can provide security. If there's anybody out there, anybody, please, you are not alone." One man reaching out, hoping to find community, broadcasting the message, you are not alone. Now, in the trauma that Will Smith faces in this movie, he finds solidarity with his dog, and that's something I want to pause and emphasize. When I say to you, you are not alone, I'm including all beings, all species in that equation. If you're a pet owner, know that connection. It's profound. Your connection to your pet is another one of the ways that you feel your connection to Spirit, to God by any name. So nurture those relationships too. And the other thing I learned from this movie, I Am Legend, is that when we attempt to live in isolation from each other, what happens? We get chased by shadows. They'll come out, they'll find us, they will chase us, they will hunt us down. And they will manifest in our world in some of the worst, atrocities, the worst violence, the worst hatred that you could ever imagine. Haven't we seen that again in the last few weeks? Didn't we see that again in the Colorado shooting? The shadows of human separateness coming out, and we're suffering because of it. Now, I saw the headlines 2 or 3 days ago that said, the Colorado shooter acted alone. Now, from one perspective, that's true. He's the only person that pulled the trigger. From another perspective, that is absolutely untrue. It's not possible to act alone. Every one of us helped to create the conditions in which someone would feel so desperate, so isolated, and a society where it would be so easy to act out of that desperation in violence. Every one of us is a part of the tragedy in Colorado. Now, this is the challenging side of the unity message. We are one, but when we refuse that oneness, when we push it aside and act as if we're separate, this is the sort of thing that happens. We should send our love out to the Colorado shooter, as well as sending it out to all the families of the victims and all those traumatized by the whole situation. If we truly believe in unity, if we truly believe in oneness, we need to manifest that oneness for everybody, no matter what the situation. Can you imagine if we truly did that? Can you imagine if hundreds of people in this room today went out to manifest unity? Can you imagine if the unity movement stepped out and manifested oneness with all beings? Can you imagine the peace? And it all begins with you, where you are right now. There's nothing to wait for. There's no better time. This is the time. And you are the person to manifest peace for all beings. There is no more important calling than that. And when we come here and we get that sense that we're not alone, what do we do with it? It's the next step. It's a story about a young girl who used to go to church with her parents. 6-year-old girl. You know, 6-year-olds, they ask great questions. So on the way home from church, she always asks the best questions of her parents. And this day is no exception. She says in the car on the way home, "Mummy, Daddy, I've got some questions about this morning. The preacher this morning says that God's within us. Is that right?" And from the front seat, the mum said, "Yes, that's right. God's within us." And she thought a bit more, and then she said, "The preacher also said that God's bigger than us. Is that right?" Bit of thought from the front seat, and then the answer came back, "Yes, that's right too." There's a long pause in the back seat. And finally, this girl said something that is so profound. She said, "Well, if God is within us, and God is bigger than us, then doesn't that mean that God shows through?" And that's exactly right. You wouldn't get greater wisdom from any mystic, any scholar, any spiritual teacher in any time or place than that. You see, once you've realized that experience of oneness within, oneness with God, oneness with all of life, oneness with yourself, once you've realized that, it becomes bigger than you. It makes you more of who you are, and suddenly it starts to show through. That's how we make a difference in the world. Once we realize something, we let it show through. We manifest it. We live it. We become that reality for many others. Let it show through. You are part of none less than the universe finding itself, evolving, becoming aware. You are the way that the universe is manifesting in this time and this space. Do you feel that honor? Do you feel that responsibility? Feel it and let it show through. If you followed the whole story of the Higgs boson, your consciousness is to everyday events the way the Higgs boson is to matter. It gives it mass. It gives it diversity. It gives it life. That's the way you show up in the world. You make this world what it is. It wouldn't be the same without you. So it's not just a cliche that I say you're not alone. I mean that in a very real, very tangible way. Well, let me draw this to a conclusion. One of my favorite lines in Winnie the Pooh comes at a time in that story when Winnie the Pooh is having a conversation with Christopher Robin. They're playing together at the end of the day. And Pooh says, "This is my favorite time of the day, the time when you and me become we. This is my favorite time of the week, whether I'm here in Unity Chapel or back in my community in West Michigan. This is my favorite time of the week when you and me become we. Those are my favorite moments in life, with my family, with people I know and people I don't know. Those are the precious moments when you and me become we." And so from that place within me, that place where I have a deep and abiding awareness of oneness, I greet the same in you. Namaste.
Thank you, Ian.